speaker. Cole, in his presentation, talked about blogs, and I forget what the stat was and the number of blogs that are currently being used here at Penn State, but it's astounding. It's tens of thousands, I think, I'll say. So our next speaker is Jessica O'Hara from our English department, and she's going to be talking about how blogs have really changed the way that she has approached her honors rhetoric and composition courses, and how intensive blogging has really changed the dynamic in the way that her students interact with one another and how they reflect on some of the material that they work with. So, Jessica.
Okay, let's see if I can figure out. So this is always for me so hard to figure out what's going on with my PC. There we go. Close out here. One of the things about me teaching with technology is I always look like an idiot in front of my students and trying to set things up. So let's see if I can do a good job today. I actually set up a Prezi for the first time. And let me see, what do I log in? Okay.
All right.
So really today I'm going to be focused on how,
You can make it big by going to more.
yeah, I think so, full screen, there we go. But I scrolled, which was interesting. I didn't know what would happen there. And maybe I could do that. So I'm trying Prezi for the first time. This could be disastrous. I apologize. So again, as John said, I'm Jessica O'Hara from the English department, and I am the assistant course director for Rhetoric and Civic Life, which is going to be, the new version of it is starting up this semester. It's an honors rhetoric course. It's 2-semester sequence honors course for Paterno Fellows and Trier Honor students. So we have about 600 to 700 students that are going to be enrolled in the fall, but we did have an earlier version of this class that was also called Rhetoric and Civic Life, and we ran that for 3 years, and that was a 1-semester 4-credit version of the class. So much of the discussion of blogging will come from our successful experiences with blogging in the first version, which is LA 101H, but also titled Rhetoric and Civic Life. I also want to mention that in addition to being the assistant course director for Rhetoric and Civic Life, I'm also the director of the Excellence in Communication Certificate, so I'm going to give a little plug for that. It's available to as a capstone certificate in some senses for liberal arts students, and it basically asks the students to create an e-portfolio of the artifacts of their excellent communication skills and academic discourse, in public discourse, in visual rhetoric, and oral communication. So if you have any questions, or have any students you think would want to do that, it's a wonderful program. I also know the entire single ladies dance. So in the breakout session, it could be a breakout session. All right, so just letting you know. And believe me, talking about remix culture, I actually saw, I had to use the version of that video taken down to half speed to learn it. It's so hard to learn. And so it's a weird thing to be singing at half speed the single ladies song. A bad thing to get in your head, by the way, so just I don't recommend it. So you can see from the title of this is what can intensive blogging work for your course? So we're going to think about what we did in the RCL experience, the Rhetoric and Civic Life course. How could it be translated into a content course, so to speak, a liberal arts course? So we're going to look at the various kinds of blogging we did in that class and see how that could be adapted. So intensive blogging, that sounds scary. What is, oh, I skipped. See, this is not good. What is intensive blogging? Yeah, I know you're the expert, Chris. I know you I was told I should use it precisely for you. So what is intensive blogging? It sounds scary and painful, doesn't it? So it's regular, at least weekly blogging assignments with devoted class time for students to respond to one another's blogs. That seems important. If you're going to make them write that much, you need to honor that writing by letting them have time to respond to one another's blogs in class. Students blog at least 700 words weekly, and we run 3 different blogs in the RCL, Rhetorics and Civic Life, but they may maintain multiple blogs, or you may ask them just to do one single blog. That's a lot of writing. And in a 2010 study of LA101H, intensive blogging was shown to improve student writing. So the intensive model versus the regular model, bloggers would be maintaining the 3 weekly blogs and also doing a certain amount of writing. The control in this particular study, which Site actually commissioned and sponsored, was 10 sections that did maybe 20 entries that kind of used blogging as kind of like a place for you to answer homework questions. So versus the 36 entries over 12 weeks that we tried. So what were the various blog topics and how could they be adapted for your class? So the blogs for Rhetoric and Civic Life, which is a rhetoric composition course, were the Passion blog, the Rhetoric and Civic Life blog, which is more of a course blog, and the Work in Progress blog. So let me share a little bit about what each one of those did. And they all had different aims as well and hit on different things you could use blogs for in your classroom. So the Passion blog is the most fun for students. They get to write on a topic of their choosing, and they write weekly entries and share their passion with the other students. And the purpose is really, we find that students feel when they get into a classroom that they just are like, oh, I have to write. You know, so we're thinking, how can they develop a lively, writerly voice? How can we get them to work on their writing skills by channeling what they already know? So we draw upon what they know and love and get them excited about writing and find a pleasure in writing in an academic setting. So that works really well for a rhetoric course where our goal is to get students to become better writers. In a content-driven course, that's your goal too, of course, but you have, and I don't mean to say that rhetoric courses don't have content, they do. But you know, how would you maybe adapt this passion blog to make it something that you could use? And I have some ideas. So what you could do is have your students focus on a narrow topic within the discipline or the course, such as a particular writer or work. I teach Irish literature sometimes, and I find that students fall in love with W.B. Yeats. I can totally see Yeats blogs all the time. So you could do a certain historical event, phenomena, case, or unfolding news story, something to keep the students' interest, or a certain methodology or approach. And this puts students in the driver's seat. You know, ask them, what do you find interesting in this course? It has to be something. So, the onus is on them to kind of dig deeper. And I kind of use this idea of like my 10-year rule for student learning. What will this student remember in 10 years? Probably something that they've delved down deep in, not something surface. They won't remember everything from the course. So I'm trying to, this I would hope would get them to engage with the course material a little more deeply and take ownership of that, of what one can know about this topic. So that's the Passion blog. The Rhetoric and Civic Life blog is really a course blog in some senses, and this would probably make the most sense to you guys. Students write weekly entries that apply concepts they learn in the course, and the topics for each week could be student selected, instructor prompted, or a combination of both. So I tend to go with student selected. I tend to make them apply the concepts to the world around them, although sometimes I'll give them prompts if I really feel like they need it, or give suggestions for what they could do. And students often, what's really interesting is students often select almost all of them the same topic, like something would happen in the world, and they would need to blog about it. In a rhetoric course, like the Chick-fil-A stuff would have been happening. And I was teaching a course, I had 76 students at the time that joked heard about it, and almost all of them blogged about that in their Rhetoric and Civic Life blog to think about the rhetoric surrounding that event. So what are the purposes of this? It offers students different ways to demonstrate key concept mastery, and it promotes timely student-driven topics, which can deepen student mastery and application, and it gives students practice with writing. right? Just that's something we're always after. Students get better at writing when they do it more frequently. So that's a very simple concept that we can all get behind. So could a course blog work for you? Sure. Students could blog to register course concepts or respond to readings. And that would be different from a weekly response journal because it can be open, or you can have specific prompts, or you can have student-to-student interaction and discussion with those sort of like, almost like a reading journal that goes online and is bloggy. And students have a different forum, which I think is really important, in addition to essays and exams, to practice disciplinary writing, to give them sort of facility with that kind of writing in a way that isn't intimidating or high stakes every time they perform it. And that's actually put in dialogue with others. So that is the course blog. And the other one we worked on, for some reason this looks like walk in progress, but it's work. The work in progress blog is, I really was at a loss to describe it. It just serves as a space for students to post drafts and conduct draft workshops, or you could use it for students to reflect on their writing process, which could be useful. And the purpose is simply that it facilitates peer feedback and promotes writing as a process. So sometimes in course, and I mean I'm guilty of this as well, in liberal arts courses we're like, go write an essay. If you want help, come talk to me. We may do a draft workshop, but this really allows for that kind of conversation to come into the course and makes it part of the learning experience for the students. So how can it be adapted? Well, not only do blogs facilitate peer-to-peer and student-instructor feedback on written assignments, what I think might be more interested is the upper-level courses, where larger research assignments could be managed in stages with a work-in-progress blog, and students' research projects could become part of the course in a way where it's usually like you go visit the professor and you're like, here's what I'm thinking of doing, this is what I'm going to do. You know, it can really be part of the course content as well. So those are the blogs we're working on. We've used and successfully for 3 years in Rhetoric and Civic Life. I forgot to make a frame. I forgot actually completely about what we're doing in the second semester of Rhetoric and Civic Life is we're changing up these blogs so that we'll have the work in progress blog, but we'll change the passion blog to a civic issues blog, and students will blog about one of any 5 major issues out there that we're debating today, such as sustainability or healthcare, those kinds of things. And they're also going to be sustaining scholarly communities blog, and they'll be talking about discipline-specific concerns within that, and the students will be aggregated according to what disciplines they sign up for, basically, and would like to talk about. So here's the big benefit, is students actually like blogging. In the 2010 study of Rhetoric and Civic Life, we found that the more students blogged, the more they liked it. So you can feel like, you know, if you just make it a little teeny part of your class, they might find it okay. But if you go big, you know, they'll really enjoy it. And that students who blogged intensively, rather than just sort of blog regularly, reported more confidence in their writing skills. And they had a reason to feel that way, because as the study revealed, they actually had better writing skills. So,
Question.
yes?
Have you found a difference between traditional age students versus non-traditional age students relative to liking blogging?
Oh, that's a good question. I probably haven't had enough non-traditional age students to really tell. I did teach a continuing ed course just last semester with this kind of blogging in it. And at first, some of them are very frustrated with the technology, but I find that they enjoyed it. I don't really have a measure for that, especially since a lot of the students I teach are honors students, you know, so that can make a difference in the population. However, I've been teaching this way in English 15 now for 3 or 4 sections, and that's the general population of students at Penn State, and they're fine. In fact, I'd argue they like it more. So, yeah, I don't know if continuing ed students actually like blogging, so I should put a little, you know, asterisk there. But they didn't seem to hate it, let me put it that way. They did it, and they seemed to think parts of it were fun. So, what I just basically, what happened to that last slide? What I'd just like you to consider is, give intensive blogging a chance. That's all I'm saying. And when this blogging is directed towards specific learning outcomes, and you can implement multiple blogs with multiple purposes, it can be a powerful tool for teachers. And implementing one or more of these blogs, surely, it has to be consistent with your pedagogical aims, given how much it asks students to write, given how much it asks students to think and interact. And thank you very much. My work is done here. So I'll be happy to answer questions about logistics in the breakout session or teach you the single ladies dance.